Thanks, Betsy, and thank you to our music director and our singers and to Annette for the beautiful song. Well, what a joy it is to be together in person on this beautiful Easter morning, right? All the things that we appreciate more and more, and one of the gifts of what has come before. Okay, so these buttons are going to drive me crazy playing. Before I share the story of the decision to rise by the Master, I would just ask those of you who have been on a 40-day journey with me, a commitment to raising our awareness of love as the presence within us, to join me in silence or out loud, whatever you like, as we affirm what is day 36, contrary to what the minister said at one point, that it was the last day today. We have 4 more days. So we just center ourselves and open all of us to receive the blessing of this 6th principle of truth on this, our 36th day of committing to raising our consciousness to a greater level of awareness of the truth that each of us is a spark of divine love. Together, my inner supply, instantly and constantly, takes on form and experience. According to my needs and desires. And as the principle of supply, active in me, I can have no unfulfilled needs or desires. This is the truth, and we name and claim it for ourselves and for our entire world. So this morning, we will look together at the resonance of the symbols in the Easter story. So I will read from the book of Matthew, chapter 28, verses 1 to 10, so that we can together review the primary symbols that continue to speak to our hearts and echo through the millennia. After the Sabbath, at dawn, on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel came down from heaven and, going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and fell like dead men. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now, I have told you." And so the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. And suddenly, Jesus met them. "Greetings," he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." Are we ready to rise out of any tomb of limitation this morning. Whether it has to do with our health, our perspective, our mindset. This morning, this is an old-time unity talk because it calls me to be responsible for the decision to rise. And so the title of my message that is coming through for me and that I'm humbled and privileged to share with you is that it is a conscious, deliberate decision to rise out of the eyes of the body and consciously invoke the eyes of the within, of the Christ within. So if you're ready, here we go. My favorite symbol from this story is the fact that it is the women who first not only bear witness to the empty tomb, but who also greet the risen Christ. It is, folks, our female nature. It is only through the heart that we can bear witness to the presence as love within us. So let's just stop for a minute and realize what that means. How many barricades might I have around my heart? Not too many. I hope that's true for you too. Because you know what? With an open heart, we can heal this world. When we let those walls fall away and trust love as the power that awakens us each day, as the power that lives through us, as the power that guides us when we remember to access it in the heart, then we are carried along. There is nothing we need to. We are just lifted. We are lifted above the world. We are lifted above anything that the eyes of the body might call a problem or a crisis or a need for healing. Whatever it is, wherever the doubt still resides in us, the women, the two Marys, for double whammy power, who are the first to witness the risen Christ, are symbols of love, are symbols of how open my heart is today to truly rising above error thought, about old tapes, about sedimented beliefs in my subconscious about myself, or, God forbid, that big word we've been working on the last few weeks, judgment of others. You know, some of you in the classes that we've had heard me talk all the time until he made his transition about Dr. Peter, a 103-year-old mentor of mine. And, you know, his teaching comes to mind this morning because what he would say most often to someone who was trapped in what was happening in their lives, something that they were tempted to call a problem or a crisis or a big issue. And, you know, I would watch him primarily as his daughter would bring the drama of the day to him. And he would say, you know, folks, none of us knows anything. None of us knows anything. Isn't that the best surrender prayer you ever heard? I love it. To go into this Easter day knowing that I myself can know nothing. I can't know what my life means. I can't know where the future is. I only have these 60 seconds. And so I'm going to take a few of those right now, and we're going to look at the other symbols in the story. The idea that each one of us rises in consciousness above whatever we believed that was false is really captured in the resurrection itself. And the resurrection, metaphysically, really represents restoring our minds and our hearts and our bodies to their essential, original state of purity. For me, that's the first step in meditation and prayer, is to clear away anything in my consciousness, in my body, in my mind that is unlike love. Because I intend to bear witness to the Christ in me through the power of love in my heart every 60 seconds, with every breath. That transforms us. We can rise. Every one of us can decide to right now. And so the resurrection, the lifting of our error thinking or our limited thoughts or our erroneous beliefs, the willingness to rise out of being stuck there is what the resurrection means. And we are restored. We are taken back to wholeness, to completeness, and to seeing and feeling with the heart of love. When we realize that God is spirit and that we are spirit emanating from God, then our body and our minds accept that we are immortal. We are immortal. Some of you know my dad just passed away a little while ago, and I thank you for thinking of me tomorrow. That's a prayer. It's his birthday, and he didn't like to count the years, so we kids decided we're going to follow his instruction and not put the date, the date of his birth on the tombstone. So we'll be burying his ashes. And 1 year ago today, on Easter Sunday, I was coming back from a beautiful service here, and I got a call as I pulled out of the tunnel from my brother saying, that my dad had got lost. They couldn't find him. And so today Dad is found. But what I loved about that, and what will carry me through the rest of this life, is that when he lied to the police about what he was doing in Windsor, because he lives fully an hour and a half away from Windsor. So we had quite a time finding him because he didn't like to drive out of Chatham. And furthermore, he didn't know his way. And so they found him, God bless, it was either Home Depot or Lowe's when they found him, and it was midnight. And so when they asked him where he was going or what he was doing, and he said something which has never happened in this lifetime, and maybe it will in the next. He said, I just came back from my daughter Rosalind's for Easter dinner. And the police officer said, you had a late dinner. And he said, yes, and I'm just trying to figure out how to get back to Chatham. So, of course, they had an awful time keeping him there till Joe and John and I could arrive. And so there's only joy in my heart as, I feel him and hear him and just say happy birthday, Dad, tomorrow as we say goodbye to the physical. So I would also like to look at the stone. That will be really the focus of my decision to rise today. The stone that is rolled away on Easter morning represents programs from our childhood. It represents teachers who told us we couldn't write. Having taught older kids, because by college age, they had already been told they couldn't write. I exonerate myself of blame, but actually I was pretty awful and critical too about writing. The point is that I've asked for forgiveness from those thousands of students, and I can hear them saying, it's okay, miss, we always knew you were a little strange. And so I just say that to you this morning in all humility. What is the program? What is the tape? What is the conditioning that might still be running your show beneath your awareness? That's why 10 or 12 of us, like good student disciples of the truth, got together every day for the last 35 days. And we decided to say consciously that we eradicate any of those limiting beliefs, that those are not the truth of us, whatever they are. They're meaningless. they are rolled away from our conscious and our subconscious, especially mind, through the power of our deciding to see with the eyes of Christ and to feel with the heart of love, because it is only through love, through accessing our heart and opening it up to all who are in our sphere, that we can be the Christ from seeing and touching that Christhood within us. So the message really of Easter morning that rings out with joy is that the tomb is open. It's empty. Any of those error thoughts don't exist. And some of you have heard me say that, you know, when we look at family systems, that's a really important key into understanding ourselves and who we have become based on our family of origin. If we were a firstborn, that we think everything's our fault. Any firstborn in here? And that we have to keep everybody in the room happy, otherwise the world will fall apart. Funny how that never happens. If you come from an alcoholic system, or in my case from a dry alcoholic, which is just as controlling and can be just as difficult to break free from, then we know today that it's a choice to rise out of whatever the error belief used to be. You know, I'm going to tell this little story again because we've covered everything except the angel. So we covered the two women, which are critical for me, symbols of where God lives in me, in the heart, and the fact that I need to access my feminine nature if I'm going to experience the love of Christ as me. And we've covered the tomb. Obviously, Jesus the Christ represents the I am, the God in each of us that right here, right now can decide to rise out of the ashes of the past and know that all we really have on a good day are the next 60 seconds. So we embrace them and we live them with joy. This now moment, as Betsy called us to feel the peace of Christ within us, it is this now moment that builds in us as we spend time in the quiet, as we access our heart and open to the truth that we are love, and that's all that matters. I think I shared this story before, but it was just so instructional at this stage in my life for me to be seen in a way that, because of my upbringing, I never saw myself. And so I just shine love on each and every one of you for any of the parts of you that are cracking so the light can get in, as our Canadian Leonard Cohen said. When my mom first entered the residence in Chatham that's run by the Ursuline nuns, some of you know that I taught at the Ursuline College after my former spouse swore that I would never teach anywhere in the province of Ontario, and I love and bless him this Easter morning. So it was my parents' Catholicity that facilitated a path for me. So not that long ago, when I visited Mom there was this lovely woman sitting next to me as we waited for somebody, we buzzed to be let in. And so I was sitting beside her, and she didn't have her eyes closed, but she didn't fully feel like she was there. And I was very aware of her radiating love and joy and peace, and so I kind of leaned into her and I said, "Hi." And she said, "Hello, Rosalina." "Do you know me?" She said, "Yes, I'm your grade 1 teacher." When I told my brothers, they said, "Get out of here, she's probably dead." I said, "No." She said, "My name is Mother Mary Michael David, and my birth name is Patricia. I always remembered you as a sweet little girl." If she knew the hell and the flames that I went home every night to put out, She might have seen me more as I don't know what, but that was a gift. So I hope today, on Easter morning, as you take courage from those two women who saw the risen Christ, I hope that that inspires and empowers you to touch your heart and to allow it to open fully to everyone, whether they love you back or not. If you haven't done your forgiveness work, for heaven's sakes, how long have you been in unity? It's step one. And so we listen to the words of the Master who said, wow, what a call to action. He said, Father, forgive them. They don't have a clue what they're doing. And that does not make us entitled or superior. It simply affirms the truth about anyone that we have called wrong in our experience, because we know that everything in life brings a gift or an opportunity to rise up higher in consciousness when that's what we go in looking for. So can we be transformed today by the renewing of our minds? Yes? Oh, I heard that. Pardon? Yes, we can decide collectively to rise and to be the joy that we all came here to be. And I am going to close this morning with two things. One is that I believe, to the best of my ability, I broke the generational dysfunction. It cost me, in human terms, big time to break generational dysfunction with my two daughters, who are the greatest teachers and the greatest gift of my life. And I'm not going to cry, but did you see how God sent two little girls today? How awesome is that? So here's the greatest gift that I taught my girls. It's their mantra. I don't know what you hear when you hear your mom in your head, but mine is gone, and I bless her. What my kids hear over and over, even now that they are mothers, they hear, you have one job in this life, and that is to claim your joy. It's to be happy. And if anything gets in the way of your happiness, don't you dare blame anybody else. You get it. You move it gently and keep on going. Amen? Amen. Hey, I love you guys. Okay, so I'm just going to read these couple sentences from today's daily word. I am resurrected through the power of this Christ within me. It is a glorious Easter day, and I am brimming with new life. I rejoice in the shimmering light of awareness that is in my open heart. Amen.